Welcome to Poker Vlog number 26. This is the first one of the month. It's March 17th. Previous vlog was February. It was the last one we played of the month, and thankfully we won, and that booked us a win for the month. Since before that session, we were basically breaking even, down a little bit. So with that, we booked a win for every month of our first year playing professionally. That felt like an achievement. I'm pretty happy with that. And thankfully this month's been going way better. Been doing pretty good. And let's try to keep it going. We're gonna play some 1-3, and soon enough we'll play 2-5. And with that said, let's go right into the poker room and play. All right, there's a 2-5 going on. Sadly, it is full, so we're gonna have to warm up playing some 1-3. So we're buying for $300. Let's jump right into the first hand. First hand in, we got pocket sixes in the big blind. The hijack limp, so I make it $15, and he calls, so heads up to a flop. Flop is king 10-7, so definitely not what I was hoping for. Pocket sixes. And I decided to check here, kind of see where I'm at. Betting, and if he calls, I'm just gonna have to basically give up on a turn most of the time. So I do check, and I see the good news when he checks back. Turn is great. It's another king, so now less likely he has one, even though I'm not expecting him to, since most likely he'll always be betting on the flop. And I decided to bet here because I feel like he could have plenty of just overcards now. I don't want to give him a free river to hit, and there's straight draws and flush draws, so I make it $15, and he calls. Another good reason to bet the turn is if you are super lucky and you hit a full house on the river, since it comes a 6. So definitely very nice, especially after betting the turn. And I'm going to bet huge here since there's a lot of missed draws, and I shouldn't have many kings here. I'm usually betting on the flop, so I feel like I may be called pretty light since this line doesn't make too much sense. I make it $60. Sadly, he is not curious since he does fold, and we take down the first pot of the session. And that is it for 1-3 since we hear our name for 2-5. So we rack up, head over there, we add on to be at $1,000, and let's jump right into the first hand. Not the prettiest hand to get it started. Jack 10 off in the small blind. There's a button straddle, folds to us. And honestly, I'm not sure. This is a very specific spot with a button straddle and in the small blind what the optimal ranges to raise pre-flop. In a moment, it felt good enough. They are connected, so I make it $35, and the button straddle does call, so heads up to a flop. Flop comes queen 10-6, so not the worst. Middle pair, jack kicker. I decided to check here since the button straddle, this player, I think he's calling super wide, so not knowing exactly if he could have two pairs, sets. Of course, he could have a top pair. Like that, we could pot control a little bit and see where we're at. That's what I do, and I see the good news when he checks back. Turn is a 5, and I feel like my 10 is always good here. I think he's always been the queen on the flop, and he is pretty aggressive, so I wouldn't be surprised if he'd be trying to bluff a lot when it checks to him. So in a moment, I was thinking he has a lot of, he may have showdown value, so middle pair at 10, that could be a lot of worse kickers, or bottom pair. So unless he connected with a turn 5, hitting the 2 pair, so 10-5-6-5, I think we're good here. So I'm going to bet, I'm going to make it on a bigger side since there is straight draws and flush draws. I make it $50, and he does call. River is an 8, that brings in some straight draws, and maybe if it was more of a brick, like some random deuce, I'd think more about putting out a small bet here, trying to get value from worse 10s or bottom pair. That just doesn't believe us since we checked the flop. But with a river that does make some 2 pairs and straights, I just felt like betting with a 10 would be a little too thin, so I do check. He checks back, we show, and our pair of 10s with jack kicker is good. We take it down. Now I look down at a prettier hand, ace queen off in the low jack. Under than 2 makes it $20. I don't have much of a flatting range here, and this is strong enough to 3-bet, so I make it 60. The big blind cold calls, and under than 2 calls as well, so 3 ways to a flop. Flop is 6, 8, 10, so not much going on for us, so it checks to us. I still would like to put out a small c-bet here just because I have aces, kings, queens, jacks. I would do that. And like that, I just get a lot of random hands to fold. The reason I didn't in this spot is because the big blind just cold call my 3-bet. And that does tend to be a lot of pocket pairs that 10s, 8s, and 6 are sets. And if he has like 9s or 7s that have a gut shot, they're not folding. And he could have jacks too, since I don't think people are 4-betting that often. But again, there is a lot of other hands that will fold, and we can still improve on the turn and river. So if we bet here, someone calls, we just check back the turn, and hopefully we can improve on the river. But in the moment, I do decide to just check back. Turn is pretty interesting. It's a jacks. Now we have a double gutter. Any 9 or king gives us a straight. Big blind checks. Now underground 2 does bet. He makes it $60, and I think just calling here is what makes sense. I don't think raising again makes any sense, because what are we doing for value? What are we checking the flop and then raising this turn? I don't think there's anything. It just will seem like what it is, bluffing with a draw. So I do call. Big blind folds, heads up to a river. River is beautiful. It's a king, so we have the nut. Sadly, he checks, and I want to go big here. It seems like he does have something now. I don't think he's betting often to turn with a bluff, and if he does, we're not getting value from it anyways. So a flush draw did come in on the turn. Hopefully if we bet big here, he will put us on that. I make it $300. He says this was not a good river for me and does sadly end up folding. So weren't able to get more value out of it, but definitely a very nice start of the session. Let's try to keep it going. I would have done a pocket sixes under the gun one. I make it $15. Let's see if we get lucky with them again. Only hijack call, so heads up to a flop. Flop comes jack, 3 deuce, so can't complain. Just one overcard to our pocket pair. And I decided to check being out of position, and this player here just caught bluffing, just losing his mind, so maybe he does it again. I like this hand just to go in bluff catching mode out of position, so that's what I do. And he does bet. He makes it $20 and I call. Turn is pretty good. It's a 5, so it's undercard to our pocket pair, and it gives us a gut shot. When I check, he does not slow down. Now he bets $45, and definitely on such a good turn card, I'm not going anywhere, so once again I call. River is beautiful. It's a 4, so we hit it straight with our pocket sixes. And if I was putting an opponent on top pair, I'd definitely think about leading out here, since I think they're always checking back when it's a 4-liner, and by checking we lose some value. But as I said, I felt like this player, he has a lot of bluffs after I check to him. Since some players, when you just check, they just think you're weak and they just go crazy. And on this run out, if I have top pair, it will definitely be pretty scary if he bets. And when I check, he does. He makes it $125. We think a little bit and go all in for 320 more, and he just snap folds. So a bluff it was, and we take down another decent pot. So session is looking pretty good. Let's move on. Now we're under the gun with ace 10 suited. I make it $15. Under the gun 1 now 3 bets us to 45. Cutoff calls, folds to us, and happy calling here. So that's what I do. 3 ways to a flop. Flop is absolutely insane. King, queen, jack. We flop the nuts in a 3-way 3-bet pot. Just doesn't get better than this. I check, and he bets $65, folds to us, and I tanked a little bit here since I was considering if I should raise or just call. And in the moment, it's under the gun against under the gun 1, and this player, he does flat call sometimes, so I just feel in this spot he is super strong range. Aces, ace king, kings, queens, jacks. I don't know if he's 3-betting me with king, queen, maybe the suited version. I don't think king, jack, queen, jack that often. But altogether, I just felt if I check raise here, it will just look so damn strong, since this board is just really good for his range. And I'll start get aces, ace, king to fold, and there is a flush draw. So if that doesn't hit on the turn, I do think he'll still be betting it, and we could check raise there and make the pot a lot bigger. So I'm definitely risking for scary turn cards to show up, but I do decide to slow play this time and just call. Turn is definitely not what we were hoping for when it's a 10, so our hand definitely gets downgraded. It's just now any ace we're chopping with, and we check. He bets $185, so that is definitely what it seems like he has. So yeah, we're not that happy with our hand anymore. What was a dream, now this seems like we're chopping it up, so I call. River is a king that pairs the board, and I wish I could have this hand back, because in the moment I just kind of went in automatic mode, just check, just ready to chop it up. But the thing is, in this spot, I don't think he's ever betting the turn when an ace is a straight with 2 pairs or sets. So I think I am the only person in this spot with a full house. So I would have loved to just lead out and bet huge here, just putting his aces in a really bad spot, because what is calling the turn? Or it's an ace or it's 2 pairs. So I would just put him in a spot that most likely he's chopping or losing. So that would have been really fun. But as I said, I do just check. He checks back, and we chop it up against ace king. Now we're the one with that hand. Ace king off, and under the 2. Under the 1 makes it $20. I 3-bet to 60. Now the small blind, call 4 bets at $260. Folds to us. And you almost never see call 4 bets, especially early against early. This looks so damn strong. I think it's never a bluff. Straight up, I just think it's aces, kings, ace, king, or queens. I think most of the time they're just calling with jacks. That's how strong this looks. So definitely feels tight, but against the range I think he has, I'm happy folding. Just give him the $60. That's what I do. And he's nice enough to show us pocket aces. So yeah, Thankfully, we went down the tight route because if a king would have came on the flop, that would have been pretty nasty. I don't think I'd be able to fold. Of course, with the ace, never folding. So he takes it down. Let's move on. Not a big blind with Jack 10 suited. Underdone makes it 15. Underdone 1 calls, but they calls onto us. And definitely late position, I'd consider a lot more 3-betting. Maybe I should here too with all the callers. But against undergun, I do decide to call as well. And we go 4 ways to a flop. Flop is very promising. Ace 9 7. So we have a flush draw and a gut shot. Now it checks to the button and he bets $25. And I'm next to act, and if I'm ever bluffing here, I think this is one of the most amazing candidates. I have such a strong draw, and raising next to act, I think I'll look super strong. And the button, he's the one that is the weakest since he's the last to act. So let's do it. I make it $75. Folds to the button, and he does call. So heads up to a turn. Turn is a deuce, and I'm going to keep it going. I think a lot of just top pairs are going to call once and then give up once I keep it going on the turn. So I make it $175, just hoping I'm not bluffing against 2 pairs or sets. But it's not the case since this time it does get the job done. Since he folds, we take it down. So this session is definitely going very good. Just running super well, almost not losing any hands. It's very small ones, and things look even better. We looked at pocket kings and underdone 1. There's a $10 straddle in the button. Underdone limps, I make it $50 and only the button calls. So heads up to a flop. Flop comes Jack 9 queen. So pretty scary. Definitely not the flop I was hoping for since the button could definitely have all the 2 pairs and straights. So being out of position on a flop that can be pretty scary if he raises. I'm not loving it. So I decided to pocket control and check, and he checks back. Turn is a 9 that pairs the board, and he definitely could have plenty of 9s himself that could be checking the flop, just happened to get the showdown, and that was in my mind. But I do think I should be betting here now, try to get value from Jack so if he has a draw. But in the moment, again, I decide to go down the pretty safe route and check, and he checks back. River is a 6, and now we definitely got to try to get some value. And after I checked twice, I felt like maybe he'd think I'd be bluffing if I bet big here. So I make it $100. But it's not the case since he does just fold. And yeah, we may have lost some value here if he just had a draw that was happy to see cards for free. And we take it down. Now we're underdone with ace queen off. I make it $15. Folds a low jack that 3-bets to 50. Folds back to us. And I've seen him 3-bet pretty light. He did it recently with king queen off. So even though it looks pretty strong since I'm under the gun, I think I'm still doing decent against his range. So I call, heads up to a flop. Flop is jack 7 9. So not much going on for us apart from a backdoor straight draw. But when I check, he checks back. Turn is a 10. So any 8 is a straight. And we have an open in a straight draw. And I said to bet with my draw, I make it $50 and he calls. River is beautiful once again. It's the king of diamonds, so we hit our straight. Any queen is a straight, but we have the better one with the ace. Brings in a backdoor flush, but we have the ace of diamonds, so I think he never has a flush here because again, I have the ace and the king, jack, and 10 of diamonds is on the board. So the best possible flush he could have is queen 9. And I don't think he's ever 3-betting with that, and even less with worse hands. So again, I just never think he has a flush here. And I decided to be tricky because I wasn't sure if he was going to call with any hand that doesn't have a queen. Maybe ace king, but I don't know if he's calling a bet on the turn. We're on sets a scary board with any 8 is a straight. I think most likely he'll just be folding that hand. So altogether, I think maybe he could have like queen jack. Well, not even that since he's probably betting the flop. But I thought was maybe king queen that turned to straight and slow played. So I'm just hoping he has a queen. Definitely a risky play since he's going to be checking back a lot. But I do decide to check and we get rewarded since he bets. He makes it $100 and let's go with the plan. I check raise him to 300. He snap calls, so I'm fully expecting him to have a queen, but he does not. He flips over ace king. So wow, he definitely didn't believe us. He's snap calling with top pair against a check raise with any queen or 8 is a straight. And yeah, we definitely get rewarded for playing tricky in this spot, and we take down a very nice pot. Let's go back to the premiums. Pocket kings and a hijack. I make it $15, and I'm not that excited when everybody calls. Cut off button, small blind, and big blind calls. So 5 ways to a flop. Flop is decently safe. 5 queen 4. So not too many combos of 2 pairs apart from 4 5. Sure, they could have sets, but I think there's plenty of top pairs we could get value from. So when it checks to us, I make it $40 and I get the button and small blind to call. So 3 ways to return. Turn is a 10. So now losing against queen 10. But when it checks to us, I still think there's plenty of top pairs we get value from. And there's some straight draws. So I make it $100. And I get the bad news when a button raises to 400, folds to us, and the button, he's a pretty tight player. I just never think he's bluffing here when I barreled the turn after betting 5 ways on the flop and getting 2 callers. I just look super strong myself. So yeah, I think I'm never good here. Maybe he turned 2 pair. I think the most of the time he'll be raising the flop if he had a set, but hey, you're slow playing it. So I do fold. And he later told us that he had a set. I believe him. We play all the time together. I don't think he's lying, and it just makes a lot of sense. I just think it's always a fold in this spot. It never looks like a bluff. So, hey, this is the first hand we lose on this vlog, so not complaining. Let's move on to the last hand of the session. We have done a pocket 6s in the cutoff. We started with this hand. It's been treating us very well so far. So let's see if we could end strong with them. I make it $15. Not a big blind 3-bet, just a 50. Same player that 3-bet us earlier with ace king that we rivered the straight. So of course we're calling here. Let's see the flop. And they don't disappoint. Flop comes 7-6 king. So we have bottom set. Sadly, he decides to check. And usually I'm always putting out a c-bet here, but in the moment, I just felt like if he had top pair or aces, or even queens or jacks, he'd put out a bet. It felt like maybe he just had ace queen, ace jack, and he just missed. And as you saw, this player is very sticky, so I decided to check. Hopefully he hits something on the turn, an ace, a queen, or jack, and then we can get some value from that. So we check back. Turn is a queen, and now he does bet. He makes it $125, so a huge bet over the size of the pot onto us. And I'm not just calling here. This brings in so many draws, and I feel like betting that big, maybe he did hit a flush draw on the turn. So I raise. I make it $300. And now he goes all in for $550. Of course, I snap call and I show, and he flips over pocket aces. So, okay, dealer, we just need to fade 2 outs, no ace, and this pot is coming our way.
Oh my God.
And yeah, as you probably expected from the thumbnail of this video, he does hit his 2-outer ace on the river. 5% happens once in a while, even though it feels like it should never happen. It has to, 1 every 20 times. So this over 1,000 pot goes his way to basically take almost all of our profit of this session. But that just happens sometimes. We can't get away from that. It's just variances. So yeah, pocket 6s at the end did not go in our favor. Let's rack up, cash out, and see how we did. That is the end of the session. What I do want to share is that I finally got the VIP card. So look at that entrance we have now. That's amazing. And yeah, look, we have the special parking. So I come here almost every day. So having this nice parking upstairs, I don't have to go through the elevators anymore. I have extra perks, little free food. It's super nice, especially, you know, everything adds up, you know. So I think I get like 10 bucks a day for food. That's $200 a month of food that I'm gonna get just by being a VIP, apart from other perks. So yeah, definitely if you grind and you play steadily poker, unless you're in huge stakes, that I guess it doesn't matter. But for me, finding these little extra ways of making money through the casino is always a plus. So yeah, I was trying to get this VIP card for months. It's been 6 months, I think, I've been trying to get it, and it was really difficult. But yeah, finally last week I got it, and let's get to the session. So that was a nasty one with the aces. Yeah, I usually say to run it twice most of the time in the bigger pots, but when it's so unlikely, when they're so behind, it's kind of like whatever. And it wasn't that big. I mean, it was pretty big. It was $1,000. If it was 2K, you know, for both of us were 200 big blinds deep, I probably would have still said it. But yeah, we still made a profit. We were in for $1,000, out for $1,050. So it's nice that after having a pretty nasty bad beat, we still book a win, and pretty interesting. We were running super good until then, just hitting the straights. I think we hit at least 3 straights today. But yeah, with that hand, we lost it all. But yeah, feeling great. Again, this month's going pretty good. This week, we're still up a little bit. Last month was a great one. I think we made over 4K in the week. That got us started very nicely. And that is about it. I'm in the car, and see, this parking's nicer since it's kind of outside. During the day, it has a pretty nice view. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next week.